Thank you for being here. Congratulations on the new record.
Thanks for having me.
I am a fan of it.
Appreciate that.
Loving it. Yeah. Absolutely loving it. How did the release go last night?
It was good. I mean, there were moments where it was super packed in there.
Good.
And that was good. But I guess one of the things you kind of sign up for when you decide to play for an hour and a half, kind of on the later side of an evening, is that you sign up for seeing some walkouts and a little bit of that, but not enough to be remotely discouraging. No, it was really good turnout, good sound. I'm just making minor adjustments. Good. Got to have some full-on rock and roll moments, which have not been a big part of my live music career because I've primarily performed solo. I mean, I've done toured portions of the nation opening for friends who drew a lot bigger than I did and always been solo. So
that's cool. So you had a band last night. Who was backing you?
Actually, a Denton guy named Michael Martin was playing keys for me. Okay. He works in the jazz department at UNT.
Yep.
He's very good. And Richie Owen, who lives in Mesquite, has played bass for a lot of folks in Dallas. He played upright for me. His grandmother started teaching him Western swing on upright bass when he was a little kid.
So he played upright the whole show.
Mm-hmm.
And who drummed?
Jeff Ryan, he's played on St. Vincent records, War on Drugs records. He's played on some really big records.
Excellent.
But and I got to go full electric for a couple things and get to have the rock and roll moments that tend to elude the solo acoustic.
Absolutely.
Finger picking specialist things that I normally do.
So you got to switch over to electric guitar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah. You still did your acoustic numbers here and there, I'm assuming, yeah?
No, I started, actually, we kind of programmed it in such a way that I started off, we built little by little. So it's like 6-7 songs solo, couple songs duo, 5 or 6 songs trio, and then several 5 or 6 songs totally full band.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah, it was about an hour and a half's worth of music, a little longer actually.
So there are some like lead instruments on the record, some violin.
Yeah, did not
anything like that for the live.
Didn't bring the violin in because I was saying it's just one song.
I think the fiddle is what you guys like to call it.
Well, right, didn't bring the fiddle in. In fact, that particular song, that was kind of just how the song is presented on the record.
Yeah.
The way I've done that song live for years, and it's evolved over time. But here over the last 2 years, I've started doing a ton of extra chord melody stuff while I'm singing. Like a lot of extra chord melody stuff while I'm singing. So you get all this extra counter melody.
Yeah.
Harmony stuff.
That's fun.
So we did it more that way. When I showed the guys I was playing with, we could approach this kind of like it is on the record, or how about this? And they said, yeah, just do that.
Yeah.
Said, okay, well, fine. Yeah.
There's a guy that you kind of work with, a specific studio that you had been using. Was this the same place that you recorded this record?
Well, so same producer.
Okay.
Different place.
Okay.
He was in the middle of buying another piece of land and building on it.
Okay.
While we were making this record. So he just had to find a place out there in Fredericksburg where he could work in the meantime.
Yeah.
And he found this place called Loma Ranch Studio, where actually some Jerry Jeff Walker stuff was recorded there in the 80s. Blaze Foley recorded there in the 80s. Gary P. Nunn recorded there in the 80s. So a slew of kind of Texas country standard folks had recorded there in the 80s. But this place had been completely out of commission for a long time.
That sounds cool, though.
I think I was the first person to make a full record there in the last 10, 15 years.
Nostalgic feeling or something. Just an old studio.
It
Kind of felt ghostly or something like that.
It does feel old. Most of the walls have fabric just hanging from them, and we were finding brown recluses here and there. So yeah, definitely a place that has not had enough life in it for a while. But super warm sounding. I think actually sonically the best sounding thing that Taylor and I have ever made. But yeah, produced by this guy named Taylor Tatch.
And so did he end up bringing his gear into this place, or did it have some gear that was already kind of established that y'all used?
I mean, I think all kind of what you might, I don't know what you even call all that stuff, but you know, patches and all the cabling and stuff. I think that was all still original.
There. Yeah.
And original console, all that stuff.
Very cool.
He did bring in some things. He brought in Taylor and I went and got his tape machine so that we could do some stuff. We did something live to tape. Yeah.
That always sounds, anytime you can do analog on 2-inch, it sounds so good. It's a dying art, so it's harder to find.
I'm lying. Okay, we did a bunch of my old stuff live to tape. On this record, we did something where I was unhappy with the key it was in after the fact. So we moved it into tape, sped it up to the point where it was almost a whole half step higher, so I could sing it. I wanted to sing it a whole half step higher.
Mm-hmm. Did it work?
So we did that.
Yeah.
And it's on the record. It's the song called The Waiting Place.
Oh, awesome. Well, now I'm going to listen to it with new ears. So it was, the majority of it was a digital recording then?
Mm-hmm. After the fact, warmed up in tape.
So it sounds like you're more, and which I envy, that you're more hands off in the studio. You got somebody kind of handling all of the technical aspects of it for you.
I'm not producer-y.
That's great. That's a good place to be, to just go into the studio. Only have to focus on the music.
Yeah, I don't have leadership skills. I'm not techie for one thing.
Right.
I'm not a tinkerer really. Yeah.
That's fair.
I like playing guitar. I don't know anything about guitars. I like playing guitar.
So did you do do you do all the arrangements on your stuff? Do you allow people to do guest arranging and that kind of thing? Have you ever?
I mean, every now and then we'll get in a situation where we have been in situations where Taylor will suggest things, and then it's suddenly up for discussion. But for the most part, I make all the choices about how many times anything is played.
Excellent.
All the song structure and stuff. I put so much time into those parts just in the writing process that it's finalized by the time I call the song written. Most of that stuff I'm calling those decisions made.
Yeah.
Now, who plays and when on what, I don't care. But song structure stuff, yeah, I'm pretty into that.
Excellent. I'm pretty into it too. Did I hear flute somewhere on the record? Did you have a flautist?
There's a flute sound.
It's not an actual flautist.
That's Mellotron. So Dan Creamer, he's a member of the Texas Gentlemen. He's also, he plays keys for Shaky Graves year round. So he's on tour
constantly,
300 something days a year with Shaky Graves. But he plays all the instruments on this record that I'm not playing. He plays everything except guitar, and Taylor Tatch does some slide guitar, and I did some electric guitar.
That is a real fiddle on there, though, right?
It's a real fiddle.
I was gonna say that didn't sound
farmed out to this woman named Liv Sloan.
Yeah, it sounds excellent.
Liz Sloan, where she actually, we emailed the track to her. She emailed us back 3 versions, and we just cherry picked and kind of actually made, we
took
pieced
parts
together.
of different takes. Yeah.
But she sounds great, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I knew her in person, but I've never met her.
Did she do like multiple tracks of strings, or was it just kind of like a solo fiddle?
There's a part where it sounds like there are more than.
It sounds a little heavier.
One, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I thought, because Taylor, we listened to it back, and Taylor goes, "Dude, I think she put viola on here somewhere."
Oh yeah, just in the same octave, but with a lower instrument. Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I don't know anything about this, but so you could be right."
Yeah. If it sounds good, how can you argue it? Strings are a weird thing because multiplying them doesn't necessarily mean it's going to sound bigger.
Right.
Like sometimes it just sounds like muddier, or maybe two of the exact same thing instead of fuller. Right.
I'm not sure if I could say this right now. Well, okay, I'm going to. But a friend of mine, the guy who I opened for a lot in the last year, David Ramirez, he sent me his new record. So I was listening to his record that's not out yet. And man, the string stuff, he told me it's just a string quartet. Sound big.
Yeah.
They sound great.
Not doubled or anything? Not like 2 takes each or something like that?
I mean, we didn't get into that, but when we were talking about this record and we were talking about strings, I think he said it's just a string quartet on there. There's one track on there, and man, I was listening to it on the way over here. I listened to the whole album on the way over here.
Yeah.
And I texted him, dude, this particular track, I don't want to name it because I don't want people to know, but
right.
I said, dude, F&A, dude, this string quartet baller on this track, dude.
There's a trick you can do. So like a string quartet, they're normally doing bits of harmonies, so that will obviously make it sound fuller than just 2 people doing the same thing in unison. But there's a really cool trick that you can do if you even have like a live quartet, is to blend it in with a MIDI string section, and it still sounds real because you have all the articulation of the real string players still in there. Yeah.
I mean, it feels like that could have been something done here because it was done in such a way to just further magnify this kind of upbeat 70s pop feel.
Okay, so it was like full band type song. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in a certain like upbeat like these hits going on part is when the string quartet kicks in. I'm like, Jesus, this sounds rad. I almost forget that you can use strings like that in an upbeat pop.
Yep. I'd put strings in everything if I could.
Somehow the kind of strings, or it's the kind of sound that makes me think of Mary Tyler Moore, but not, not like it.
Like show-tune-y type strings. Yeah.
Like suddenly light and positive, but upbeat and badass at the same time.
Yeah.
So how would you describe your style?
I mean, I guess I think of myself as a weird, complicated pop artist, actually, because somebody said something finally, somebody that wrote about my record recently, that they were kind of, my PR lady probably asked them to write about me, and that's why she wrote about me. But what she said that I thought was so accurate, she called it like she called it Americana pop. I thought, yeah, that's not so far off, because
it's not totally accurate, but it works, right?
And it's not, one of the reasons it's not so far off is I've always thought of myself as somebody who's really, really focused on things having what do you call it? Yeah, pop sensibilities, kind of. That the melodic sensibility is not. I mean, yeah, it's a bit sophisticated, and I like to make melodies complex, but also I am also actively hoping that they are catchy.
Yeah, right. Like accessible.
Yeah. And I am designing them in such a way. I am thinking about intervals as I make melodies, and I play stuff over and over and over and over and sing things slightly differently thousands of times as I'm trying to design melodies. And it's always trying to make this marriage between pop sensibilities and something that I feel is also has some type of musical integrity at the same time.
Yeah. It's all so smartly written, and I can hear that. Yes, I know that it is. I know that you've thought that out, and it shows. It's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, the amount of repetition that goes into coming up with stuff, especially on this one tune, Rosemary and Thieves, I was telling my friend Big Mike that I would wake up in the middle of the night, and the guitar part would just be playing in my head. There's this part that actually the verse is a 14 chord series.
Were you talking to Grady about this song? Yes, I remember this.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
And
what's that song? What's the title?
Rosemary and Thieves.
Okay, yeah.
It's track, I think
2.
Yeah, track 2.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one a lot, but in the making of it, my brain was just. So I'm not a high IQ person or anything. I have an average IQ. I just care a lot about certain stuff.
Sure.
I think. But so when I get really obsessed with something like that, my brain was just drilling that chord progression over and over and over for weeks.
And then you finally found it, huh?
Well, I mean, that was it. I had made it, but I think my brain was just trying to smooth it out.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right.
Because there was a long time when I thought, this is so clunky, I'll never be able to make a real song out of this. But then I think my brain was trying to make it come out of my fingers smooth enough that I could eventually say, yeah, this will be a song.
Yeah.
It's not just an annoying exercise.
No, I love that, man. The more chords in a song, the better. That's my mentality.
I mean,
it's not everybody's mentality.
Right. I mean, I like chords. I like chords a lot.
You started playing guitar when you were pretty young, right? If I recall from...
No, I mean, depends on how you feel about it, but I started playing on my 14th birthday.
Okay. For some reason I thought... Were you doing anything musical before the guitar?
Not really, no. I mean, I think I mentioned on the podcast that my mom has a musical background.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's that. I mean, there's music in the house somewhat, and she played and sang, and she has kind of this opera quality to her voice, and she's one of those, there's a name for the type of soprano that she is, and she was in a choir that toured when she was in and after college, I think. That
has to leave an impression on you as a kid, whether it's like the direction of music that you would want to go, just the structure of a musical lifestyle, right?
I think so.
I think so. Still figuring that one out.
Well, I do think so. Yeah. Because, I mean, I give every now and then you see, somebody like, where their dad was a conductor or their dad was some, very highly educated musician. And then the move that the kid finds, the move is to play 3-chord country songs for the rest of their lives to rebel from that. Which is kind of what I was doing after jazz. Like after I studied jazz in college, I wrote these really simple songs for a few years. And I talked about that last night during the show. I said, when I first started doing open mics, I only finger picked. And then somebody would see me a couple years later that I knew in the open mic circuit, and they would say, "Oh wow, you strum sometimes now." So funny. For me, progress was learning to strum.
Right?
Because I think I explained. Actually, I talked about this with Grady. The first thing I ever learned on guitar was a little finger picking thing.
That's awesome. That's the best way to do it, I think. That's a skill I didn't acquire till many years after playing the guitar. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny. So it just sets you up doing things in reverse.
Yep. It's nice.
But
was strumming hard for you? Because
it actually is.
Yeah.
It actually is. I had a friend in college, high school, named Mark. He was like a rhythm section guy in bands. And he would tell me that my strumming was terrible. Mm-hmm. And so I think that kind of reinforced my wanting to not strum for years.
Yeah. Strumming can be clunky.
Yeah, I remember trying to play that Vertical Horizon song, Total Pop. This like thing you kind of frown upon now. They had this thing. They had that song called "Gray Sky Morning." You remember this? So you sailed away into a gray sky morning.
Oh yeah, it does sound familiar. Yeah,
it's kind of a big, kind of not bubble gum, but kind of one of those acoustic hits of the summer type songs.
Yeah.
I was trying to play it, and I remember it. Involves strumming. And I remember him telling me, like, dude, your rhythm is awful. Like, well, I'm not in bands, and I only ever play by myself. But that was, I think that is part of the reason I'm still, even as a rhythm player, I almost have a lead-centric version of rhythm playing. There's always, it's like there's always got to be a melody.
Yeah.
There's always chord melody stuff. Almost always some kind of melody happening in the guitar part. I
love that about your music. Absolutely.
My rhythm still sucks if there's not if there's not a bass player holding it down.
Sure. Did you get a chance to rehearse with those guys that you played with last night, or did they just kind of listen to the record and show up?
We did a gig together last year, so we had me, bass player, and keys. We had a bit of a rapport built up from that. Yeah. Doing a gig together last year where we rehearsed some leading up to that. I think like 5 weeks leading up to that. Once a week, and then we had some of that familiarity already built up, and rehearsed once a week for about 5 weeks leading up to the show.
So do you plan to do more shows with that lineup?
Yeah, I have a couple trio shows booked for next year already.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
You gonna get on the road?
I don't know. I committed to self-booking again, but I don't know if that really means I'll get on the road or not. I have been booked for some out-of-town stuff already next year, but they're not really touring. They're just kind of, go. One of them sounds pretty cool. I've been booked for a festival of house shows in Arkansas. I've never heard of such a thing.
Festival of house shows. So, like a day festival of like being on someone's street?
Well, so I don't know, man. Like I hope they're all near each other.
Oh, God. Right, yeah. I guess you would.
But so I've been booked to, play a house show Friday night, then play 2 house shows on Saturday, and get paid really well. But I've never heard of it.
But they are calling it a fest, right? So they are connected in some fashion.
Yeah, homeboy said this is a festival of house shows.
Have you ever heard of such a thing?
Sort of. In Houston, there were like hip hop house shows that they would turn houses into clubs and kind of change it up every night, and there would be a different live act playing in somebody's living room, and then a bunch of people show up and they would serve booze or whatever. It was, but it was like legitimately run too. There was staff, and there was tickets and door and everything, and it was like different houses.
Could be a great thing. Let us know how it went.
I don't understand how it can pay so well. But there are some gigs that you come across in your life where you just wonder, and then it turns out, there's somebody sponsoring all these shows.
Sure, yeah.
Right.
That's why they pay so well.
Yeah.
How did I walk out of here with $2,000 or something?
That's like take your money and don't ask questions situation.
Right. Yeah. Oh, but one time I asked, and then they go, no, it's not. Yeah, you'll never draw well enough to cover that. It's because there's a sponsor. She didn't phrase it like that, but that's kind of what I found out.
Well, thank God for sponsors. Did anything memorable or crazy happen during the recording of the record that you could share with us? That's, PG-13 or lower.
Yeah, or lower. Nope, it's all R.
Yeah, he's like, no, you screwed me there.
I try to conduct a relatively PG life, actually.
Lifestyle, yeah.
Ever since that one affair, I said that won't be repeated. So, everything's been PG from then on, because when your life is in danger, that's not fun.
No.
So that was my not PG story.
Okay.
That I'm not going to tell.
Right, fair.
Yeah. Go to the Other Dudes podcast to check out that story.
I probably do have something hanging out in my head. It's just when you put me on the spot, suddenly I can't think of it.
Oh, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I talk all day, and someone asks me to say something, I'm like, words.
Okay, well, how about this? Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I have some goofy stuff that's just kind of stems from me just being a goofball.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I've left stuff in venues after shows, and then had to drive 4 hours back to the venue after getting to the next town. Then the person I'm opening for texts me, dude, so the venue last night thinks you left a box of vinyl over there, and I had just gotten to the next town. So I got to turn around and go get. Yeah, that's.
Was it your box of vinyl?
Oh yeah,
okay, good.
Yeah. I mean, they sent me a picture of it, and I said, yeah, those are
those
are my records.
I'm 4 hours away,
and you need them to have for the next show.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, I've done some silly stuff like that on the road. Weird road stuff. Yeah, I told that long story about the Kansas City gunfight.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. That's too long. We can't recap that one.
Yeah, no, that is
it's a good one though.
That took a while.
Tell us about the song you're going to play.
Yeah, I don't even know what song you're playing. You haven't told me.
Right, I forgot. Yeah, I told you I was going to tell you that.
You never did.
I lied. I think I'd like to play Rosemary and Thieves because I haven't done a real performance video of that. I made a little thing that's on Instagram and on YouTube where I just kind of explain some about the chord progression, where I play the chords and then I talk about them a little bit in what way I can. That could be mildly interesting to kind of confess that I don't know everything about what I'm doing. So there's a song on the record called Pony Express, and in playing that with the guys in trio fashion in rehearsal, the keyboard player told me, this is very interesting stuff at the end of this song, Garrett. This is so cool. This is double harmonic major. Hardly anybody uses that in music that you hear. This is really neat. And then so I go digging into it, trying to figure out how it is that I'm using it, and then I find out, oh cool, yeah, this is neat, but there's just a D minor drone happening, and I'm using, I think, G double harmonic major to create this
cool
thing. And when I wrote it sounded super Middle Eastern, but then with the way we presented it on the record, it sounds kind of more Native American actually. But there's stuff like that that's kind of fun for me to realize that
maybe you did it unintentionally or something.
Well, no, not so much unintentionally. No, it was done very intentionally. Trying to find this thing that has a Middle Eastern or Native American sound to it. That was super intentional.
Yeah.
But I don't have the education to tell you what I did.
I see. Yeah, sure.
But and I have some theory background from studying jazz, but also I have these massive learning disabilities that made it really hard for me to really succeed at anything that's truly academic. So no matter how much I learn, I'm always approaching things from shapes, sounds, and just flat out searching for sounds.
You were told at a young age that there were a lot of things that you weren't going to be able to do. I remember you saying that, I believe you've surpassed all of those things with flying colors. Yeah,
God, I hope so. My parents were told he might be able to learn how to read.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a wild thing to say.
Yeah. No, that kind of stuff is goofy.
I'm glad you picked that song. I'm excited.
Thanks. I mean, I hope my voice can do it right now. I sang so much last night and so hard.
We can do as many takes of it as you need.
I was trying to project so much, especially even just after sound check. I was wondering, am I going to have a voice after sound check? I haven't sung this loud ever. And then I was telling the drummer, like, you gotta go to Brushes because I'm going to die.
Did he?
He did go to Brushes.
Nice.
A friend of mine told me on the phone today. She said it was such a great touch that he used Brushes. And I was like, that was a last minute.
It's a necessity
thing. I was going to kill him after the show.
Right. Let's head over. I want to hear it.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah, let's do it.
green eyes turn blue from protests at the station. I wish she'd come back down south where I'd find her at the marketplace, where she could play it cool while I'm just staying a fool. I might pretend we'd ever be friends again. You're talking so logical, but I'll never see you as a viable option to call when I'm just stuck in when I'm just stuck in a fall. She used to keep such a beautiful garden, but now she just waters the weeds. Rosemary and Thieves. Her favorite day, dream is leaving this town. Somehow we just keep waiting around for the sky to fall down and look for shooting stars from the hood of my car. We sat in the balcony, the members of the fancy. Everyone's asking how they end up in a place like this. Wearing those clothes, we act like nobody. We act like nobody knows. She used to keep such a beautiful garden, but now she just waters the weeds. Rosemary and Thieves. Seems like every time I open up my mouth, words like arrows start flying out, aimed at my friends. Now I have less of them. The audience will stay a little longer than before. The parting song will play while you're knocking on the door.